Okay, I didn't know where to start this tour of Cobble Hill and Brooklyn Heights, so I just started here on Warren Street as we head west from Court Street. We're in the Cobble Hill section right now. The two neighborhoods are very much alike. Cobble Hill's a little newer. Cobble Hill is south of Atlantic Avenue and Brooklyn Heights is north. And they're both two of the oldest neighborhoods in Brooklyn, with narrow, tree-lined, historic streets. Brooklyn Heights neighborhood was the first neighborhood in New York to receive a historic district designation. So this is Henry Street. We'll go back on Henry coming up. Some really interesting brick townhouses. And one thing along the west side of the neighborhood runs the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. That's what you hear. It's sunken down below. So there's another neighborhood over there on the west side of the BQE. Here we'll go back on Congress Street to get back into the residential neighborhood. Townhouse for sale. One is under renovation. In Cobble Hill, I don't know if I'll be able to find the specific house. I've seen this plaque at one time, but it's where the mother of Winston Churchill was born. They have a little park here. I think I read that they knocked down some brownstones and they were going to build a grocery store, but that got stopped. Then they wanted to build an apartment building and that got stopped. So they wound up with a park where the brownstones used to be. Okay, now we're going up Clinton Street. Amity Street. We're like a little south of Atlantic Avenue. Keep an eye out for that historic plaque. So Atlantic Avenue is like the second busiest street in Brooklyn. It goes all the way out east, all the way to Jamaica, Queens, and it starts here by the New York Harbor, by the East River. There's an Art Deco apartment building. State Street. Shimmerhorn, which we were on when we were in the Brooklyn Heights video. Here it's a regular residential street. Beautiful church here. Doesn't say what it is. I don't think there'd be a name on the front of it. Let's take Jeralaman Street here. Head over to the East River and the Brooklyn Promenade, Brooklyn Heights Promenade. Crossing Henry. This is Brooklyn Heights is regarded as the first suburb of America. Let's go a little further up and look for where the promenade is by the overlooking the East River. I saw it, but just to be sure, let's go a little further up north. Remsen Street. I think this used to be an old hotel, so now it's converted to residential. This is Montague Street. We'll take this. It's got a lot of restaurants on it. Currently with outdoor dining. It's some official building with the flag in front of it. Nice Victorian apartment building. Okay, so we'll have to get off the bike here and walk. We'll take a look out over New York Harbor here, across from Lower Manhattan. This seems like it'd be a great place for sunsets, because we're facing west mostly. So it's a great view. You can hear the BQE underneath us. We're cantilevered over it. So what can we see here? This is sort of the Brooklyn Bridge Park or Columbia Heights along the river, all newly developed from old Port Authority piers. Looking north, you can see the Brooklyn Bridge, and you can make out it's a hazy day today. It's Friday, July 17th. You can make out the Empire State Building sticking out right over the middle of the Brooklyn Bridge. So that's Lower Manhattan there. You can see the orange boat there in the harbor. That's the Staten Island Ferry coming over from Staten Island. I'll take you on a tour of that in another video. And you can see the Statue of Liberty, hopefully. And it's behind the tip of Governor's Island. That's what that little island is there. That's accessible to the public, but on a limited basis. I think I just read they are restarting summer ferry service there on weekends. So it's something to watch for. That white boat in the middle might be the ferry to Governor's Island. Maybe they are already having ferry service. So you can see an actual freighter boat in the East River. So looking right around the tip of the terminals, you see they're right at the tip, and around that bend is the start of the Hudson River. So right at the tip of Manhattan. The tall building is the World Trade Center, the new one. Alright, so now I'll take you back through the rest of the neighborhood. Here we'll go back into the neighborhood on a different street. You can sort of make out around the side of this building some cranes for the freight ship terminal here on the Brooklyn side of the harbor. There are a lot more container ports and such on the New Jersey side of New York Harbor, just so you get your bearings. This is the northbound BQE, always busy. So it goes right underneath the promenade here. That was another thing that the community fought for and won. They wanted to build that expressway right through the middle of Brooklyn Heights, if you can imagine. So they got it moved over towards by the water in the 50s, 1950s. Alright, so what is this street we're on? We'll just find out here, right at the southern end of the promenade. Beautiful houses here. More brownstones. Tall brownstones on a narrow street. I'm sure it keeps this street cool during the summer on hot, sunny days. I'm sure the neighbors appreciate that, driving through their neighborhood. at the entrance to this building. Wow. So you see a mixture of styles. I always point out the Romanesque style because it's one of my favorites. Like this house right here. Henry Street. Supposedly is known for having restaurants along it, but I don't see that many. Maybe further north. Let's take a look. Straight ahead is downtown Brooklyn. So the signage tells you that this is one way to get to the Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge if you're riding a bike. And we're on a separate bike lane. Back to Montague Street. And we'll go through the northern part of Brooklyn Heights to wind up here. As you go north, it gets older. Although these are new, modern buildings right here on the east side of the neighborhood, but we'll go further up. This is Cadman Plaza Park over here. That's about as big as a park gets around here. So if you want a big park, you'd really want to go to Prospect Park next to Park Slope. You could, if you're running, you could come here to Cadman Plaza and run around it 20 times and get a decent run in. All right, let's go down this street. This is Monroe Place up this street. Very nice, quiet street. Named after one of our former presidents, James Monroe. Not Marilyn Monroe, who also lived in this neighborhood. The Hotel St. George is an old hotel. It's no longer a hotel, but it has a subway station in it. And it's a very deep station, so you have to take an elevator to get down to the subway. I guess it makes sense. We're in the Heights, and you got to go down to from a neighborhood it's called the Heights to the subway. It means it's a big change in elevation. So we're on Clark Street. This is the Clark. So this is where the Clark Street station is on the 2-3 line. So this would be the main subway station for Brooklyn Heights. Otherwise, you'd walk over to Borough Hall, where you also can get the 4-5. After getting through that little traffic jam. Cars driving way too fast for the neighborhood. There's another viewpoint through the trees here where you can see Lower Manhattan. This is a beautiful street. Now we're on Columbia Heights. This is one of the fruit streets, Pineapple Street. There's also an Orange Street. And one other one, I think it's Cranberry. And I heard when they named these streets, they had named them after families that lived in the neighborhood. And one of the scions of the neighborhood did not like the families the streets were named after, so she kept changing the names of the streets instead of the fruits. And it went back and forth until she finally won out. Here's Orange Street. So take a quick trip down Orange. All the streets are nice, so you get the picture. A lot of writers live in this area, like Martin Amis, Norman Mailer used to live here, Truman Capote used to live here. I think it's a great neighborhood for writing because it's quiet while being close to Manhattan. In terms of what to do here in Brooklyn Heights, it's mostly just to get a view of Manhattan. If you know somebody who lives here and you're staying with them, I'm sure it's very nice and convenient. But unless you're into historic districts where every street is nice, you're not going to find a whole lot of other things to do. It's not really well known for any restaurants of note. I mean, the restaurants are on the garden variety side. So, but it's close to Manhattan, and it's quiet, and it's historic, and it's beautiful. You don't expect this to be New York City. So it has a lot of charm. I have been to a concert here once at one of the local churches, which was a nice venue. As you can imagine, we felt lucky to find a parking space in this neighborhood that night. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a taste of Brooklyn Heights. It's probably a neighborhood you've heard a lot about. The Cosby Show supposedly took place here on a fictional street. There's an Art Deco apartment building. And we're back to Henry Street, where there's various restaurants. Alright, that'll wrap it up. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next video. Oh, I'm walking back to get another city bike. I thought I'd just show you Monroe Place going at a walking pace. Supposedly it's the widest street in Brooklyn Heights, but I don't think it beats out some of the other streets by much. This street stays very quiet for the residents. It's not a cut-through street you can use to get through the neighborhood. And it's a one long block street. This is a nice apartment building at 25 Monroe Place. And the one thing that makes this street unique also is that it has the second appellate division of the U.S. federal court system right here at the end of the street. So there are 9 such districts in the United States, and this is the second department. I take that back. This is the appellate court for New York State, but it's a nice courthouse right here at the end of the street. All right, thanks for joining me for this little extra bit.